What's up, guys? Welcome back to season two of the Money Backers. NFL Week One is back. Welcome my boy Shane. Shane, already got a little taste of last night. We had Philly and Green Bay. Night before that, we had the Chiefs and the Ravens. Finally back into it. First, we're going to talk about some new sponsorships. Let me pull up here. Obviously, Pick City is still around. Love those guys over at Pick City. Um, pickcity.com. Get the best picks over at pickcity.com from some of the best, most expected handicappers in the business. I've been with those guys for 4 years now. Great guys over there. Check those out at pickcity.com. Next sponsorship, one of the new ones we have this year is going to be StatBets. Over at statbets.com. Get full access into their Discord for as little as $100 today. Head over to statbets.com and start winning now. Some of the best guys over there in terms of CLV. If you'd like to get your plays in early, go over at statbets.com. Get with those guys. Great group of guys over there. Next and final new sponsor is going to be playerprofit.com. Player Profit will fund smart bettors up to $100K to Sportsbet. All you have to do is take the challenge on their website, prove you are a profitable sports bettor by hitting a certain win rate, and get funded to bet with a huge bankroll. If you think you have what it takes, go purchase a challenge for as little as $30 and keep 70% of your profits. I've been using Player Profit as a funded trader for a month now, and there's no better feeling than gambling with someone else's money. On Player Profit, you can place bets on the MLB, NFL, college football, and soccer. Use code GGS for 10% off every package you purchase when you sign up. Appreciate those guys coming in and sponsoring the show this year. Let's get down to business here. Week one, we're going to kick off with the first. We're going to get this one out early, Shane. Okay, we're going to talk about this one early. We're going to go right into Patriots at the Bengals. Week one. It's going to get ugly. We know that. But we're going to speak right into it. Week one, this line opened at, I believe, 8 or 9. It is now dropped because of the recent injury news to T. Higgins and the contract battle we have going on with Jamar Chase. So that line is dropped now to closer to 7.5. Shane, I think you have a pretty solid take on this one, so I'll let you take this one now.
Well, first having the top two weapons for a Bengals team that already historically doesn't perform well early on in the season, and a huge spread in week one. I mean, I know the Patriots are supposed to be garbage, no offense, but
no offense taken, my guy.
I like taking this many points this early on. It doesn't make much sense to me. Underdogs of 6.5 points or more are 46-27 ATS in week one since 2006. Burrow is 2-6 ATS in his first two games of the year. There's not really much to say. Like the lack of potential weapons the Bengals might have. I see a lot of running the ball from both sides. Patriots offensive line is in shambles from what it used to be. I don't know if they're going to be able to move the ball a whole lot, but I mean, I don't know if the Bengals are going to be able to move the ball a whole lot. Yeah. Chase hasn't been practicing, so even if he does play, I don't know how much of a limitation he's going to have. Higgins is doubtful right now, so he's not playing. So you have rookie Jermaine Burton, Andreas Iosivas as the other receivers, and then a combination of Zach Moss and Chase Brown, which we don't really know what's going to happen with the split between them. And I mean, we saw it just last year too. We thought the Patriots team was going to be bad. They played the Eagles, a team that we thought was going to be really good, and they kept it close until the end.
Yeah,
I don't see how this isn't going to be similar to that. I like the under in this game a lot. The Bengals defense, I think, is a little underrated in the sense that their defensive line should be able to have its way with the Patriots offensive line. If the Patriots had a passing attack, they'd be able to maybe dissect the Bengals a little bit. Their corners are a little weak. But with slightly hurt Jacoby Brissett and Jalen Polk coming in as the number one option as a rookie on this team, I just don't really see points a lot from either side here.
Yeah. I have a play in this one. I sent it out to my guys probably 2 weeks ago. Obviously, hasn't turned out well with injury news and Jamar Chase news now. But yeah, I bet the Bengals here at 9. It's obviously dropped 1.5 with the recent news. Not loving it at all. It's going to be tough for both teams to put up points. I still think Bengals squeak out a win here, maybe by a touchdown or so. It's probably a good teaser spot now. It's at 7.5. Good teaser spot to get them at 1.5 or even 1. But yeah, I'm not liking my -9 too much that we have right now, to be honest with you, just because of the just who's Joe throwing the ball to. You got a new running back in the system and Zach Moss, so a lot of unknowns in this team. But it wouldn't be surprising if Joe Burrow has a Joe Burrow game and goes off too. So it's still a possibility, but not in love with what's going on in Cincy to start week 1. All right. Game number 2, another selection I have, and this one for my guys. So I'm going to let Shane take this one. Cardinals at the Bills. This line opened up at right around 6.5. It dropped to 6, 5.5 at some spots. It's now back up to 6.5 at most local books. Yeah.
The way I see this is you got two good offenses, one really bad defense in the Cardinals, and one defense that has a lot of unknowns with the Bills because they've lost a lot of talent. Matt Milano is going to be out. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer both gone. Tre'Davious White both gone. The argument would be that those guys, a lot of them weren't there last year because of injury. But it's still a lot shaken up. A stat that I was kind of surprised by, Josh Allen has closed as a favorite of 4 or more points 25 times in the last 2 seasons. 8, 16, and 1 in those games, ATS.
A little rough.
Kyler Murray also 25, 15, and 2 ATS as an underdog. This is going to be a shootout. It's just a matter of whose team can score more points. I'm still thinking the Bills leave this game with a win. But the Cardinals are definitely keep this close. They were able to keep a lot of games close last year. Mm-hmm. You add in Marvin Harrison. You have Trey McBride, who's an emerging star at tight end. You still have James Conner, very dependable back. This is just gonna. I think this is just typical shootout here. I think Josh Allen's gonna be able to do just enough to edge out a win here. But I would take the Cardinals with the points here, and the over would also be a play.
Awesome. Yeah, not to talk too much on it. We do have a play here. I do like to play still, even with the line movement a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what both sides on offense have with a lot of new pieces. Obviously, Bills lose Diggs.
And Davis.
And Davis. They have the 2 tight end set will be a lot. Probably see a lot of Kincaid in the slot. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with both offenses. I think we see a lot of run game. I think we see a lot of play action with Connor and Cook, both in the backfield, both solid backs. And I think when both these teams get in the red zone, it should be pretty easy to score. So I think we see a bunch of scoring. Both running backs very good in the red zone. James Conner, touchdown machine when he's healthy. Probably a good fantasy pick for this week too. Heading into this week, gonna be leaned on a bunch, I think. So a lot of scoring. Just depends on how much I think the Bills score is the real question here for the spread. All right, moving right along here. One of the most interesting games I think of this week that not many people are talking about. Jacksonville heads to Miami and a home-to-home matchup. Dolphins given 3.5. This line has stayed around 3.5. It crept down to 3 for a little bit. Sharps bought it back up to 3.5. I think it's a perfect number. I have this game closer to a 1-point, 2-point game, to be honest with you. I think Miami squeaks it out. But I wouldn't hate anybody for taking the points here. I think Trevor Lawrence has a lot to prove this year. New contract. I think he's going to come out hungry. They got him Gabe Davis. They lost Calvin Ridley, which I think would be a decent loss. I think ETN has a good year this year. One of the guys in the backfield that to me used a lot this year, kind of like how we saw Jacobs last night in that offense. I think it's going to be somewhat similar. A little more in the passing offense, I think, for ETN. He'll be more not just in the run game, but definitely in a pass game too. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville squeaks out a win because of Miami's defensive injuries and the unknowns on defense right now, but Tua at home in the heat is a good matchup. So
Yeah, I am leaning heavily on the Miami side. A lot of the numbers just point that direction. Jalen Ramsey being maybe out of this game could cause some problems, but I think that their offense is just going to be too much for this Jaguars team to handle, especially early on in the year. You're facing against the super fast teams as they're the freshest that they are.
yeah,
And that Jaguar secondary, I mean, they have Tyson Campbell, and that's about it. Tua is 15-3 straight up when the temperature is 80 degrees or higher. So if it's a scorcher, then Tua's cooking there.
mm-hmm.
The Dolphins are historically the best team in the NFL when the kickoff is at 1 p.m. They are 42-23 straight up when their kickoff is at 1 p.m. at home.
Interesting.
Trevor Lawrence is 8-17 straight up and 11-14 ATS on the road in his career. To counter that, Tua is 18-8 ATS at home and 18-8 straight up at home, 26-13-1 ATS at home. So, I mean, everything to me points towards the Dolphins. The Jaguars are having a huge shakeup in their offense. They lost Calvin Ridley. Christian Kirk, who you would think is their best receiver, is only playing in 3 wide receiver sets. It's Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. that are starting on the outside. Both these defenses look suspect to me, so I don't think they're really going to be able to stop anything. I'll just take the home team and what I think is the better quarterback right now.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Kind of worried about the 3.5. I could see a backdoor cover by Jacksonville or maybe some late heroics by Tua to win this game. I'd probably lean taking the 3.5 just with the hook. If this was more of a 5-6 point game, I'd probably lean more towards Miami because I think it makes a little bit more sense to me. This 3.5 just seems kind of suspect. I think it looks like a pretty easy side for the public here to lay the 3.5 in Miami. Tua is better than Trevor. Overall offense is better than Jacksonville's right now. It's just kind of a weird point for me to lay the 3.5 where I can get a field goal and a half advantage to start the game with two offenses who we think are going to put up some points. So, all right, next game, divisional matchup. Houston goes into Indy, laying 3 now. This game was a short, 2.5 point game. It's got bought up all the way to 3. So it looks like the sharp side is going to be Texans here. Probably at the 2.5 line if you can get it. I know Shane has some interesting stats on Indy in week 1, which is pretty interesting. I have this game closer to kind of like Jacksonville, Miami, closer to a pick'em. And when I see a pick'em here for me in terms of numbers, I lean towards the home dog. Anthony Richardson coming back off injury. They got some interesting pieces on offense from the draft. Defense still suspect, I think. But I think the pressure is going to get to CJ this year. Don't know if it's going to be week 1. But I think the sophomore season after a huge rookie season is going to be somewhat of a tight spot for him. Starting off on the road in the divisional matchup, definitely not the easiest spot for him to start his sophomore year. Not saying he's going to collapse, not saying he's not going to do good. I just think that some little bit overhype for CJ heading into his second year.
Before doing research for this game, I thought I was going to be on the Colts because I thought this could be seen as a bit of a trap game. Everybody's hyping up the Texans. They're going to play what is still an unpredictable offense because we've seen Anthony Richardson play like 2.5 games, if that.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these numbers are just jarring. Since 2008, the Colts are 2-13-1 straight up and 1-14-1 ATS in week 1, including 0-6 ATS versus AFC South opponents. They have not won a week 1 game straight up since 2013.
Crazy.
And that Colts secondary is terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. Juju Brents, I believe, is their best corner right now. And he was a rookie last year, and he was hurt a good bit. And now they have to go against Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. Arguably the best receiving trio in the league.
Mm-hmm.
The math isn't math in here for the Colts. It's just safe to take the Texans. I would have loved to take the Colts in this spot. I wanted to, but there's just too much pointing not in their favor.
Here's my problem, right? And not to cut you off, but do you think the Colts in Houston are going to be 6-point dogs?
I mean, would I be surprised? No.
6-point dogs in a divisional
We've
matchup?
seen Anthony Richardson play 2 games,
I know.
and he can't throw the ball. Like, he cannot throw the ball down the field. Like, everything you see schemed for Anthony Richardson is close to the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going
to. Yeah, it's more of an unknown for me, to be honest. That's why I don't have any, like I said, I like the Colts just because it's a home dog in a divisional matchup. Your stats scare the hell out of me in terms of, just maybe if it's preparation as an organization. Don't know, but hopefully we could get a good game here. Maybe it's even a shootout with both offenses coming alive, which in the divisional matchup is rare to see. So I lean the Colts here. Shane leans the Texans. I think we're going to see a good game here. 2 young quarterbacks and 2 young systems. Both teams really young on both sides. Besides Diggs coming in now, which I think is kind of an X factor. Could be an X factor for the season. Could also be a downfall in the season too, adding someone like that into your system with a sophomore quarterback. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be a great game. Like I said, I lean the points here, maybe sprinkle on the home dog. But yeah, another dog I like heading into week 1 here. We both agree on this one, I think. This is Shane's quote unquote sleeper team of the year, I think, in Tennessee. They loaded up on offense. They loaded up on defense a little bit in the back. But I think that Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, 1-2 punch is huge. I think they have 2 good, not great, but 2 solid running backs in Spears and Pollard. But I think Spears will probably take the most of the workload towards the second half of the season. I like the dog here, Shane. I like the 3.5. I like the money line too. And Shane's going to explain why for him. But for me personally, I think, rookie quarterback week 1, tons of pressure. I know he's a cool cat. I know he's, calm, cool, and collected, doesn't get nervous. But I've seen Caleb Williams in big spots in college, and for me personally, I think he's just a head case. I think he's a emotional wreck when it comes to not getting the way stuff that goes his way. We've seen him crying after losses in college, which I get, emotional game, but you gotta be professional at some point. I think it's a tough week 1. I think you got Will Levis coming in here. Stuff to prove, loaded up on offense for Tennessee, going against a Chicago defense, which I think is kind of a little bit unknown right now into what they really have. So yeah, I'm going to take the more veteran. I mean, the more veteran meaning year 2 of Levis, facing off the week 1 first start and what could be an emotional roller coaster in Caleb Williams. So I'll take the points here on the road, and I'll sprinkle that money line too for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think this is a bad draw for the Bears week 1. The Titans' defensive line, especially the interior, disgusting. Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat, 2 of probably the biggest beefy boys in the league. Usually with a rookie quarterback, you'd want to lean on the run, try to get them acclimated to the game. DeAndre Swift's not going to be able to run anywhere this game.
Yeah.
And then, I have DJ Moore. I have Keenan Allen. I got Roma Dunze. We can air it out. The Titans trade for L'Jarius Sneed and bring in Chidobe Awuzie in the secondary, and also bring in Quandre Diggs. This defense for the Titans, I think, is going to be vastly underrated coming into the season. People are going to be sleeping on it for a while. And then just the numbers for rookie quarterbacks, especially first overall quarterbacks. Rookie quarterbacks to start week 1 with a point spread of -3 or higher since the merger are 1-4 straight up in ATS in those games. First overall quarterbacks that have started in week 1 are 3-14-1 straight up and 5-12-1 ATS. So this should be like a lower scoring game. The Bears defense was good last year, and they're just well coached with Eberflus. Titans bring in a mass amount of talent to their defense. And then you have Brian Callahan coming in to help Will Levis, and you bring in all these weapons to help him. Mm-hmm. I just think this is a bad draw for the Bears. I know Bears fans are like, we're making the playoffs this year, blah, blah, blah. I don't see it. I think there's going to be growing pains, especially at the beginning of the year for Caleb Williams. His first time playing with this level of talent against him, really. And young quarterbacks don't start off like hot in their rookie years, especially. We saw CJ Stroud last year. He got torched by the Ravens last year in week one. Like it's not. There's nothing to really be surprised about. If something happens so many times, you just gotta expect it to happen. I see it here, and I think the Titans are just a vastly undervalued team as a whole. So yeah, I'm all over the Titans here. Lock of the week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
LOW. You said it, ladies and gentlemen. Lock of the week here for Shane's Tennessee Titans plus the points. Lean the under here. All right, Shane. I'm gonna let you take this one because I have nothing good to say
This fucking
regarding
game.
this fucking shit show.
Let me pull up my notes on this fucking game here. Well, first of all, Daniel Jones and fucking Sam Darnold, that's who started for him. Just a shit show. This is gonna be terrible. If you're gonna take anything in this game, don't touch the spread because the spread's been all over the place. When I did my write up, the Giants were plus 1.5. I'm pretty sure they started -1, so this line's going crazy. But Daniel Jones 17-6-1 to the under at home. Both these teams are just going to be bad. The Vikings defense is bad, but the Giants offense is probably going to be bad. Malik Neighbors probably going to get like 15 targets this game or something. And then the Giants defense, I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it's good either. Like their secondary can probably get torched, but they have the pass rush to try to help out with that. And then you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones on the offensive side for the Vikings. I was flip-flopping for this game for a while, but I just ended up going with the home team getting points here. This is under City. Just don't bet a spread on this. Just take the under. 41.5 points for these two teams. I don't know how that. I don't see one of them even scoring over 20 points. I don't see Sam Darnold going for like 230 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'll just take the team. I mean, both have good offensive-minded head coaches. Dable's finally taking over as the play caller for the Giants, so we'll see if that makes a difference. But if you're watching on Red Zone, you're probably not going to see this game at all.
No. It shouldn't even be aired.
That's my team.
I actually have the Giants winning by 1 point here tomorrow, or I should say today. But I think the Giants squeaked this one out. I think it's a good spot for them too. Going up against a defense that's lackluster, I think at best. Secondary is questionable. You got Harrison Smith back there, but he's reaching age of 52. And he's getting up there in age. I think in general, it's like I said, good spot for the Giants coming off terrible season last year. Don't know what you have in offense, which is probably going to be little to nothing with Daniel Jones and no more Saquon as the safety belt. But you get a lackluster week 1 matchup with a offense who doesn't have their quarterback. Didn't really, in my opinion, have a quarterback. I don't think J.J. McCarthy's anything special, to be honest with you. But you got that veteran Sam Darnold who's going to game manage. Problem with Sam Darnold is he does turn the ball over, which Giants could take advantage of, especially late in the game if they make Darnold throw the ball. I lean Giants here. Don't love it at all. I have Giants winning by 1. The spread's gone the other way, meaning the sharps are on Minnesota. I get it. Giants have just gross the past year and a half, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years now.
Yeah, we got a playoff win. We got a playoff win against the Vikings 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I can't really hate you on either side. I'm gonna go with the home dog here. I see some value with the Giants, but don't love it one bit. All right, next game. This one's interesting, and actually, the more I look at this game, the more I like it for a certain side. Pittsburgh's coming into Atlanta getting 3.5. This line's jumped from 3 to 3.5 at most books. Wouldn't be surprised if it drops back down to 3 towards game time. So if you like 3.5 getting that, I don't see it going to 4. Mike Tomlin as a dog, first game. He'll have his defense prepared for sure against Kirk. Kirk coming off an Achilles injury. brand new offense, just about brand new defense, especially in the secondary with the additions, which we both like in terms of Atlanta. But I just think Kirk, is going to lay down here. And I think it's just a typical Kirk spot, big moment, right out the gates. You're playing a good defense in Pittsburgh. You're playing a coach in Tomlin who's going to have his team prepared for you. And I think he lays an egg, which I'm not the biggest Kurt hater of all. I like him. I like his team this year, but I think it's, again, we talk about matchups in week 1, like the Bears in Tennessee and Giants in Minnesota. I think it's an awful matchup for Atlanta. Week 1, new system, new quarterback, new defensive scheme, new secondary. I think it's a mix up for some trouble for Atlanta, and I have Pittsburgh winning this game straight up. Taking the points here at 3.5. I have Pittsburgh walking out of Atlanta with a W.
I'm also on the Steelers here. It's going to be Justin Fields now starting at quarterback, most likely, with Russ sitting out. And you know how much of a Justin Fields non-believer I am, but there's a lot of moving pieces going on with the Falcons right now. New head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. There's a lot happening early in a quarterback coming off of a season-ending injury. Kirk Cousins is 11-19 ATS at home since 2020. Hasn't covered a game as a home favorite since 2022. Justin Fields being named the new starter for week 1. Also, just the game plan's out the window now for the Falcons because now they have to deal with a mobile quarterback, which I think can cause problems. Their linebacking core is the weakest part of their defense, so I don't know who's going to be spying up and watching Justin Fields. Their pass rush, I still don't believe in. I know they traded for Judon, but one guy isn't going to make their pass rush right now. Obviously, their secondary, I think, is really good. I wouldn't start. I would even bench George Pickens in fantasy. This is a bad matchup. He's going to have AJ Terrell on him the whole game. But I could see the Steelers being able to run the ball here. The Steelers have invested in run blocking offensive linemen. And now you have a duo of Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren with Arthur Smith getting revenge on the Atlanta Falcons here. I mean, you could see it both ways as the Falcons get revenge on him for being garbage as a head coach and then Arthur Smith getting bread being fired. But I think Najee can have a decent day here. I'm not really scared of the Falcons defensive line. This is another under game. I don't see a lot of points here. Both these teams have, I think, good enough defenses, and the offenses aren't really there that can put up a lot of points, at least yet. Maybe the Falcons end up being that, but I think they still got to build chemistry between Cousins with London and Pitts and Bijan. They didn't play any of their starters in the preseason to help with that, which I think is a bizarre thing. I would take the Steelers with the 3.5 and take them outright to win.
I like it. Not my favorite dog. My favorite dog is probably Tennessee, but and we have one more dog I like coming up, but definitely an interesting spot here for Pittsburgh. First game of the year. Another year when we don't know what they're going to be, right? We don't know what Russ is going to be. We don't Justin Fields either. We don't know what they're going to be on offense. We do know they're going to be tough on defense. Front seven, TJ. It's going to be a tough front seven for Atlanta to face. In a non-mobile Kirk off an Achilles. I just think it's a bad matchup. So I like the points there. Sprinkle that road dog a little bit. I know it's scary to do so, but I think they come out with a win. All right, another game I actually love, and this is one we don't agree on, which is fine. But I have Saints here by 6+. Not a believer in Bryce Young. If you look at New Orleans Saints as a home team last year, pretty good offense. Average closer to 26 points per game at home. Basically the same offense, same system. Kamara, Carr, Olave's here. Basically same group of guys. I think you see a similar output. I think Derek Carr, it's kind of his, do or don't year. Same with Dennis Allen. They'll probably leave together if this is it. But I can see the Saints just putting up too many points here. I don't know what their point total is for team total, but I'd probably lean the over in that just because of recent performance at home with basically the same offense as I said. And you got Bryce Young coming in, not a prove it year yet, I don't think, but you're looking for him to definitely grow coming into his sophomore year. They've added some pieces. Adam Thielen's still there, who's another year older, which doesn't help him much. But it's kind of still an icky spot for me for Bryce Young to come in week one in a prove it kind of year against a divisional rival. So I'm going to lay the floor here. I like the spot a lot for New Orleans. Get off to a good start. And after this, Shane, you and I talked about this earlier. After this game, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. So huge game for New Orleans here. I lay the 4. I laid up to 5, even 6. I think they win by a touchdown or more. And it's one of my favorite bets that I didn't send out to my guys this week. So Saints -4, pretty confident in that one.
Didn't think it was possible, but the Saints are in a must-win here. Like, if they lose, the whole season's already over. Something I didn't realize is that Dennis Allen was the coach of the Raiders back in the day, and his quarterback was also Derek Carr. So he just has a hard-on for him for some reason. He loves mediocrity, as shows by his recent play. Derek Carr is 48, 62, and 3 ATS as a favorite his last 7 seasons, so he's not the greatest as a favorite. And then the Panthers are bringing in Dave Canales, who seems to be a QB whisperer. Mm-hmm. He rejuvenated the career of Geno Smith. And then last year, he rejuvenates the career of Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
And we're in another situation where it's kind of similar. You have, like the receiver room in Carolina isn't, terrible. You have Deontay Johnson that you bring in, who is, the past few years, is one of the best separators in the league. You bring in... or you've had Adam Thielen, who somehow went for over 1,000 yards last year. I didn't think Bryce Young could do that for anybody last year. You have Mingo, who's I'll say Mingo's garbage. But then you draft Xavier Legette, who can be a weapon. You vastly improve the offensive line, which was a big issue last year. You fucking pay big money on 2 guards. The defense, I mean, they lost Brian Burns, but I don't think the Saints' offense is anything scary. We saw them last year; they were very uninspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a lot higher on this Panthers team than I think the consensus is. I think the Panthers finish above the Saints this season overall. I just hate this Saints team, and I think they are in hell for the next few years just because of the financial decisions they've made. They are in cap hell right now, them and the Chargers, because they just think, oh, hey, we'll just take money from next year and then next year and then next year, and then you just have nothing now. Their defense, I think their average age of their defensive starters is over 30 years old. So no one – you'd think as you're getting older, you're not having a lot of speed because you have Tyrann Mathieu back there, Demario Davis. Those guys they're good, but they're not fast anymore. So if you get Burners there, then something. I like the upside here with the Panthers. I mean, the Saints might be the most boring team of the year, and there's a team being quarterbacked by Bo Nix. I just like taking the chance here with the Panthers because I've seen Dave Canales do stuff 2 years in a row, and I think that he can at least do something here with the Panthers. Mm-hmm. There's stuff to work with here for him.
Understandable. Like I said, the Saints aren't going to be anything special. I just think it's a good spot for them to get a must win.
This is a must win. This is a must win of the week, but I don't think they get it.
All right. Denver, Bo Nix. We just talked about him taking on Geno Smith and the Seahawks in Seattle. Broncos coming in with the rookie quarterback, new system. Next year Breeze, Sean Payton likes to say, and Bo Nix. I don't know what else to say about Denver. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Defense is very suspect, in my opinion. You got Surtain, and then what really else after that? I think Geno has a good day. I have this game at 6, so I think it's a perfect spread. Not much value there for me either way. Tough for me to back a rookie quarterback. Yeah, I know he's got a lot of experience, but he's never played in Seattle in a week 1 NFL game in your first game of your life as a 6-point dog. I think it's, again, bad spot for Denver, good spot for Seattle. Bo Nix definitely has some nerves in there for him. with the 12th man coming in Seattle. So if I had to, I lay the 6 just because you're getting the better offense. Most certainly the better defense, especially against Bo Nix and that receiving core. I'll lay the 6 here, but definitely not in love with it. Definitely wouldn't. I'm not putting my own money on it, but if I had to, I'd lay the 6.
Yeah, earlier I said Caleb Williams had a bad draw. This is probably the second worst draw that you could have in any game in the NFL as a rookie quarterback. The only one that would be worse if you were going to Kansas City for week 1. But Seattle has such a huge home field advantage.
Yep.
They bring in the problem last year was their defense. Their defense didn't look great last year, and they bring in the dude that was coaching up the Ravens defense to be their head coach. I love that hiring. Seahawks are 8-1 straight up, 6-3 ATS when opening the season at home. They're 30-6 straight up at home in their first 3 games of the regular season over the last 20 years. And even though they did lose their season home opener last year to the Rams as it got throttled, the Seahawks haven't lost their home opener straight up in consecutive seasons since 2001 to 2002. And then you have Bo Nix throwing to Cortland Sutton and ... Like there's nothing inspiring about this Broncos team. I think they're in a similar situation to the Saints, which is ironic. Sean Payton just has links to all these bad teams. I just don't see a world where you take the Broncos here. Like, I don't think they have the edge in any department. You could say, like, oh, they have the best cornerback in the game, but if you're talking about just
overall
secondary
defense
as a whole, anything as a whole, I don't think they have an advantage.
Not at all. Better quarterback, a way better offensive, put out, weapons galore. Ken Walker, Najibba, Lockett, who's a year older, I get it. Metcalf can be locked up by Surtain, which is going to be a tough spot, but they still got Noah Fant, which will be, I think, a decent pickup in fantasy this week. I think he's going to get some looks, especially with Metcalf getting locked up. But I think Walker has one hell of a game.
I love Walker this week.
Yeah, I think Walker has
he's one of my player prop plays this week.
I think it's a great week. Control the game, control the clock. Don't give Knicks, time of possession. Limit the turnovers with Geno throwing the ball. Just let Walker, run on the field and cook for most of the game, and get a decent, easy week 1 victory. All right, next one is going to be the Vegas Raiders taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers sit at 3-point favorites at home this week against Vegas. Gardner Minshew rolled into Los Angeles against Justin Herbert and Mr. Harbaugh. New scheme. Chargers are basically a brand new offense. Got rid of basically everybody. No Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams, no Austin Eckler. Is Jordan Palmer still there, Shane?
Josh Palmer is there. He's like the big vet of the
gotcha.
Offense.
So don't know what we're going to get on offense. Even last year, it wasn't pretty with those weapons, so I can't imagine it's going to be much better this year without those weapons. Keenan Allen being a leader of that team for a while now, he's gone. So it's kind of scary, both sides. I kind of think the Raiders have more of an offense this year than the Chargers, in my opinion. Chargers still have Justin Herbert, but who's he throwing to, right? Minshew's got, the new tight end and Bowers. He's got still Devontae Adams, who's his safety net. We don't know what we're getting out of Zamir in the backfield because he lost Josh Jacobs, so I think you're pretty down on Zamir this year. But it's a wait and see for him. I like the 3 points here on the road. I have this game closer to a pick 'em, so 3 points is a good advantage there. Sprinkle that money line. It's kind of like the Steelers situation for me. You're getting 3 points of an edge to start a game where it's kind of even on both sides, I think. Question mark still for Chargers O-line. I think the pass rush of the Raiders and the aggressive defensive scheme they play with, I think it could bode bad for Herbert, good for the Raiders. So I'm going to lean the Raiders here plus the 3, and if I had to, I'd probably take that money line for a little bit extra sauce.
I'm on the Raiders too here. This game also says the under to me. The under is 20-10 in Justin Herbert's last 30 starts. Even with them having all those weapons, and you're going from Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to Josh Palmer and rookie Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, who didn't really produce at Georgia because Brock Bowers was there, who's on the other side of the field. I see a bad or could be a bad offense for the Chargers because we really don't know. You have Herbert, so you have potential to have a good offense. You have what's going to look to be a lower end offense for the Raiders because you have Gardner Minshew at quarterback. You have a terrible defense in the Chargers. That defense is going to be Swiss cheese the whole year.
Old too.
And then you have arguably a top 10 defense in the Raiders. So I'm going to take the team that has at least a strength here and take the Raiders. And also the Raiders love Antonio Pierce. Like that is the coach that they play for. He's giving Dan Campbell vibes, but obviously they're not going to have the production of like the Lions yet. I don't think they're in a couple of years maybe, but they play their hearts out for this guy. He finished the year 7-1-1 ATS once being named the head coach there. The Raiders know how to play teams close and play to their weaknesses. We saw them make Pat Mahomes look bad last year in a game. I'm just going to take the Raiders here. I'm not a fan of this Chargers team. At least now they need to add more weapons and revamp that defense as a whole before I can jump on their wagon. But I'll take the Raiders here.
All right. This might be the most controversial game of the week. So my numbers have this game as Cowboys by a field goal. Obviously, the spread says differently. Obviously, most likely my number is wrong. But I'm still not a believer in Deshaun Watson. I think their offense is still kind of suspect. You got Amari Cooper, you got Njoku, no Nick Chubb yet. He's still not playing. Defense, we all know what the defense is for both sides. Pretty solid on both sides. Cleveland at home defensively is just a menace. Dak Prescott, bad spot. I know they got CD paid. I know he's looking to get paid as well. He might look to show out and say, pay me my money in week one. So that's why I'm kind of backing Dallas here. I don't love it at all. I know it's probably a bad bet in terms of, what I see in terms of line movement for a reason. But I have this game as Dallas by 3. And if I have by 3, that's a lot of advantage for me in terms of value. So you can keep the points here. I'm going to take Dallas in the money line. And I think the quarterback play and the overall better offense wins this one and gets Dallas, not an easy win, but a comfortable win in week 1. And then their gauntlet starts from there heading into their 2024 season. But yeah, let's give me Dallas in the money line, my dog of the week here in Dallas.
I can't do it. The Browns defense at home, especially last year, they were pushing like Ravens 2000 vibes of how dominant they were at home. Dak Prescott is 36-43-2 ATS versus non-NFC East teams. He's also lost 5 straight games ATS versus non-NFC East teams. In season openers, he can only beat the Giants. Whenever he's not playing the Giants, he loses. Kevin Stefanski, 25-19-1 ATS versus non-AFC North opponents. I'm also not a believer in Deshaun Watson. I think his days of being good are behind him. But who they have sneakily behind him ready to come in? Jameis Winston, I believe, will be making multiple appearances this season. Whether it be for this team or maybe – I think the Packers should actually – if Jordan Love's injury was longer, I was going to say go get Jameis Winston because Malik Willis can't throw the ball. But he's only out a couple weeks. I think Jameis Winston's going to make appearances this year. Deshaun Watson just hurt like every other week at this point.
Or just can't perform.
Yeah. The Dallas didn't upgrade their team like at all in the offseason. No. They got worse. They lost like half their players to Dan Quinn and the Commanders. Deron Bland's going to be out this game. They have a new starting left tackle. Tyron Smith's not there anymore. I don't know how this rookie's going to do. If they put Myles Garrett on this rookie week 1, whew, or you get Zadarius Smith, you get a good pass rusher in week 1. Their run game's going to be borderline probably non-existent this game. You have Zeke and Rico Dowdle as your running backs this week. Oh, they brought in Dalvin Cook to the practice squad. Yeah, watch Dalvin Cook on the practice squad. It's going to really make me feel good about this Cowboys run game. No, they didn't run the ball last year when they had Tony Pollard. That's why Dak was Dak was putting up historic numbers and was in the MVP conversation. But this spot just seems bad for the Cowboys. And I think this is the start of a crumbling year for the Cowboys, as I don't think Dak Prescott gets paid. I think Dak Prescott's gone after this year. I don't know where he goes, but I don't think the Cowboys pay him. They have to make a decision between him and Micah, and I think they'd rather have the young defensive player as opposed to the quarterback that hasn't got them over the hump yet in, 8-9 years?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm on the Browns here. I think better coach, better defense at home.
Okay. Nothing you said is wrong. Nothing I can disagree with. I just do not like Cleveland's offense, and for me, in the past couple of years, I've learned that better offense beats better defense, and we've seen that in the league. Past couple of years, I saw all last year in terms of numbers and whatnot. So I know that they're on the road. If this is home, it'd be much different. But for me to say that if Dallas is at home in this game, they're a half-point favorite, it's tough for me to see. I don't know if that's just me thinking of last year's Cowboys team or not. The best offense in the league. I don't know, but it's kind of hard for me to pick against what we saw last year, a team averaging 30 points a game and basically the same system. So, like I said, rolling with the Cowboys here, dog of the week. Dallas on the road, taking the 2.5, throwing it in the trash, and taking the money line. All right. All right. This game is only interesting for one reason and one reason only, and that's Jaden Daniels. All right.
Yeah.
No one cares about the Bucs. No one cares about Baker anymore. Cool. He made his comeback. Great. He's still going to be mid. The team's going to be somewhat mid. Yes, that division's mid. He can still win the division. Great. But we want to see what Jaden Daniels has in week 1. And I have this game at 4, so not much of a value spot for me there for the Bucs. It has dropped a half a point from a couple days ago. Just some buyback on Jaden Daniels. I don't think it's an awful spot for Daniels, to be honest with you. This defense for Tampa Bay has lost some key guys. It's not what it used to be. They're older. Levante David's not getting any younger. Neither is Winfield. So I think it's a decent spot for Daniels to move around the field a little bit, maybe show his speed, and maybe get an upset here. I'm not calling it, but you talk about QBs in week 1, rookie quarterbacks in week 1, but I would not be surprised if Washington walks out of Tampa Bay with a win here.
I think this Commanders team, if they're going to do anything this year, it's going to be early on when you don't know how to game plan for them. Jaden Daniels, I mean, he can run, and we've seen in college he can throw the ball deep. Mm-hmm. I think he's what people want Anthony Richardson to be. I think that's probably a good comparison, except size wise, Jaden Daniels is like a string bean. But I mean, the Bucs defense isn't, I don't think, that good this year. Commanders defense, I think, is going to be abysmal this year, even though you got Dan Quinn.
They lost some key guys.
I mean, they lost him last year when they traded him.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's really starting that corner for him. So who's going to guard Mike Evans and Godwin?
You can see some points here.
Yeah, I think the overhits here. They bring in Bobby Wagner and stuff like that. I forgot Bobby Wagner was on this team. I guess because of the Dan Quinn connection.
Dan Quinn, yeah.
Yeah, but Dan Quinn just brought in a bunch of guys that he's worked with to just try to bring all the misfits here and try to make something happen. Mm-hmm. He overpaid ton for a couple of like backups Cowboys guys to be their starters. Taking rookie quarterbacks week one just like, isn't for me. So I'm on the Bucs side, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jaden Daniels pulls a rabbit out of his hat and like scoots for a lot.
At least has a good game.
Yeah, I think taking Jaden Daniels to score on the ground would be a play. We know he likes to look to run a lot. The Commanders also don't really have the weapons right now. They have Terry McLaurin, and that's about it. They have Cliff Kingsbury calling the offense.
Yep.
Which can become kind of predictable at times. I mean, we've seen Kyler Murray have success with it, but over time, it gets figured out. You have Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey as your receivers, and De'Ami Brown. Then you have old head Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Then probably the worst offensive line in football, if I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think the Commanders are going to have the worst offensive line. And you're going to Tampa for this game. I think the Bucs kind of keep some momentum from last year coming into this game. They beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year, which was big, and they kept it close with the Lions in that playoff game. I think Baker can have a day here. I'm just gonna take the home team.
Okay. All right. Next one might be game of the week. We don't know, but it looks pretty good to me. Rams with a homecoming for Stafford here in week one. Going back to Detroit. I think it's the second time back since leaving. I know wasn't last game for them against Detroit a shootout? Wasn't it high scoring?
It was like a 1-point game in the playoffs.
I think it was pretty high scoring.
I think it was high scoring. I think it was like 27-28 or something along those lines.
I have Detroit by 4 here, so I think the spread's pretty much spot on. This is one of those teams, right? So the Lions are like my NFC version of the Texans, and here's why. The Lions have so much pressure on their backs now. After showing what they could do with Campbell last year and the offensive system with Goff and those, spread it out offense with Laporta, Josh Reynolds who's gone now, but Amon-Ra, then you got Montgomery and Gibbs in the backfield, bunch of weapons, crazy, fun to watch offense, but the pressure's on now. And do I trust Jared Goff in a situation where he needs to explode and be very good? Still question marks there. Do I trust Stafford? I do 100%. Am I saying that Stafford's going to roll in here and blow the doors off and win this game? Probably not, just because of the suspect defense that LA has. No more Aaron Donald, no more, just no more leadership's gone from that aspect. Secondary is still wolf at best, in my opinion. Just not good at all for the past couple of years now, ever since Ramsey left. Just who's going to control that defense, right? Who's going to be the man? Who's going to take leadership? Who's going to be the guy who, just keeps pedaling him, keep getting him into the zone on the defensive side? Still doesn't have a leader since Aaron Donald left, which is surprising me that they haven't, added someone to fill that gap. You can't fill Aaron Donald as a player, but you could fill his voice. I'm surprised Bobby Wagner maybe didn't come back after being with Seattle last year and Pete Carroll leaving. Bringing him back could be a decent voice to a young defense, but I like Detroit here to get the win. Don't know if they cover the 4.5. It could be a tight game down the stretch, like last time. Maybe Stafford comes down and backdoors it in the last possession, or Detroit comes down and gets a game-winning field goal. That type of win here for Detroit, I see. But I still believe in Detroit's offense. I think it's going to be still overpowering. How do you stop this team? Is it stop the run? Is it stop the pass? Is it stop Amon-Ra? Is it stop Laporta? It's a tough challenge. And for a young defensive unit in LA, I think it could be definitely a huge challenge. So I'll take the Lions get the win here. I'm not going to touch the 4.5, but yeah, I think Lions take week one.
Yeah, I'm on this Lions team. I told you Jared Goff is my sleeper MVP pick this year. 14 out of 17 games in a dome. Just huge advantage. Jared Goff is 7-0 ATS in week one in his career. We've seen how good this offense is last year. We saw how good the Rams offense is last year. That Rams defense is going to be bad. everybody is so high on this Rams team to win the division, make the NFC Championship game. I can't see it. I can't also believing, like, I know, like, injury hypothetical stuff is like it's not something you think of, but thinking that Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, all these guys who have had injury concerns and all that can stay healthy again for a year. Their defense, they lost their defensive coordinator. They have a whole new defense being completely changed because he's now the head coach for the Falcons. And you lose the greatest defensive player of our generation in Aaron Donald. Both these teams have great offenses, so I don't think they're going to have problems moving the ball, either one of them. But I'll take the team that's at home, better defense, and a better overall roster. I'm not high on this Rams team nearly as much as what other people are. I don't have them making the playoffs or anything. But I take the over in the Lions here.
Yeah, I like the over too. Bunch of points, I think. Like I said, it's probably going to come in the last possession, and who can, maybe turn someone over or whatnot. But definitely an interesting week one, especially that last game. I think it's going to be crazy. We'll have a separate video for Monday Night Football, but those are the Sunday games for Sunday week one. Again, football is back, dude. It's turning into a little chilly outside, so football's back. It's great. Can't wait for 18 weeks of just straight football. I know Shane can't either. So we'll leave you guys with that. Thank our sponsors, Pixie.com, StatBets.com, and PlayerProfit.com for sponsoring today's show. They'll be with us all year as well. Make sure to go over to PlayerProfit.com, sign up for a funded sports betting account. Use code GGS for 10% off your first and every transaction you use over at PlayerProfit.com. All right, we'll catch you guys next week. Enjoy your Sunday, and please bet responsibly, obviously, but have a great time. See you guys next week.